Hi guys, I wanted to make sure you knew how to get started with the 3D printer, so this is a little tutorial. The first thing you need to make sure you do is we have to double check your print in TinkerCad. So here's a print of a heart pendant, and I'm going to use this button to view it from the side. I want to make sure when I'm looking at it from the side that there's no space between the print, between the object I'm printing and the ground. So I want to make sure I pull this arrow down until it says 0. Okay, so now it's touching the bed and I'm good to go. You can see what that looks like. So now I'm going to download my file once I've checked to make sure it's sitting flat on the plane. So I'm going to go to Design and I'm going to say Download for 3D printing. I have a bunch of different options, but we want to print STL files. So I'm going to click STL, and it's going to show up down here on my screen, and I'm going to take it and I'm just going to drag it over to my desktop. So now I can X out TinkerCad. I'm done here. And this is actually another student's print that we're going to come back to. So pretend you don't see this. All right, so once you have your TinkerCad, and I should have told you that in order to do 3D printing, you need to be logged into the computer that's attached to the 3D printer. So if you have to make sure that you're downloading, here's my STL file, that you're downloading this STL file on the actual computer that's hooked to the printer. Okay, so you've got to log into that computer, open TinkerCad, and download your STL file to this specific computer. Then we're going to click the Start button. We're going to go to All Programs, and we are going to select Cura, and you're going to click the green icon that says Cura 2108. So Cura is going to open, and the first thing we have to do is we have to load our model. So I'm going to click Load Model, and I'm going to find mine, which is right here, and I'm going to say Open, and it's going to put it on the bed. You have the option of changing the size and the shape. So one thing you want to check is up here, it tells me how many minutes it's going to take to make the print. An hour and a half? That's okay. Anything that's more than like an hour and a half, you need to scale down your print. So to scale your print, you click on it, and you'll see an option down here to scale. So you can either drag the corner. Actually, your best bet is not to drag it. Your best bet is to click Scale and then mess with these numbers. If you change one, it'll change all of them. So let's say I want it to be twice as big. I'm going to make that first number 2. So now my print is twice as big, and you can see it's going to take 52 minutes. If I want my print to be smaller, instead of making the number a bigger number, I would do a smaller number. So I'm going to do 0.5, and now it's half as big, and you're going to see it takes only 3 minutes. I want it somewhere in the middle. I'm going to do 1.5, and it's going to give me this, where it takes about 27 minutes. You can see, too, that it says width, diameter, or width, depth, and height. So if you want to pull out a ruler to see how big the finished print is going to be, you can do this. You can do that. And you'll see that the unit is millimeters. So pull out your ruler and look at your ruler and find, for example, 55.5 millimeters wide. And say to yourself, oh, does that look about right? And if it does, you're good to go. We sized the scale by up here. But if you wanted to size it by changing these numbers, but if you have a particular size in mind that you know the finished print needs to be like 57 meters wide, you can come down here and you can change it to 57, and it'll automatically resize your print. And you can see mine's going to take about 20 minutes. So once your print is the correct size, I want you to look where it says Other Options. We're always going to check the box that says Print Support Structure and Print Brim. These are, printing a brim is especially important when you have something that's teeny tiny, and printing a support structure is especially important when you have an angle that's more than 90 degrees or you have an overhang. So like, let's say this is part of my print, so I have like a sphere with a rectangle on top of it. My finger part, that would be considered an overhang. and the printer won't do an overhang unless it prints some supports underneath the overhang. All right, so once I've made sure to print support structure and print brim, I'm gonna come up here to control, and I'm gonna make some settings. The only thing I really have to do is I have to set the temperature of the extruder, and if I'm looking at this image, if this is my printer, the extruder, that's this part where the plastic comes out. So I'm gonna set the temperature of the extruder to 240. And then I'm gonna set the bed temperature, and the bed is this part of my printer right here, the thing the octopus is sitting on, that's the bed. The bed's gonna get set to 110. I'm gonna click set there. The only thing we didn't mention is, see this button? If you're not getting this screen, you should double check to make sure the printer's been turned on. So there's the on button for the printer. It's right here. Make sure you flip that up and it starts to glow. So once I've said set, the only other thing I need to do is hit print, and the printer's going to do its thing. You can hear it moving right now. I'm gonna actually pick this up and I'm gonna swap it around so you can see what's going on. It's gonna do some calibrating. It's going to move the print bed around. It's going to make sure the print bed's level and even. It's gonna make sure everything's warmed up. You can see back on the screen that the temperatures are starting to change. And once the printers reach the correct temperatures and it started calibrating, it's automatically going to start printing. I'm actually gonna cancel that print. I'm gonna cancel that print because that's all you really need to know. Please remember that before you print anything, you need to sign up on the 3D printing calendar at the circulation desk, and you need to make sure I've approved your design. Okay, you are not allowed to print something unless I've approved your design. And that's the basics of how to turn your 3D design from TinkerCad into an actual print.